I want to ask you a question. What does the sound of rain mean to you? Now, take a minute to think about it before you answer, because there's not just one right answer. You see, for some people, rain sounds like childhood. For others, it sounds like coming home. For someone else, it's running barefoot through puddles, while another person remembers a kiss under a borrowed umbrella. And for others, it may carry memories that they'd rather not think about again. I think that's interesting. The rain falls exactly the same. It makes the same sounds, a pit-a-pat or kind of a whoosh of torrential downfall. Yet no two people hear quite the same thing. And I've been thinking about that lately. Not because of the weather, though we could sure use some rain here, but because of people. Now, if 10 of us stood together on the same porch as a summer shower drifted in, we would all hear identical raindrops. But inside the 10 of us, 10 entirely different stories might begin. One person remembers paper boats floating down the gutter. Another remembers fields finally receiving the rain that they'd been praying for. Someone remembers a quiet evening with someone they love who's no longer here. And someone else remembers a storm that changed everything. Now, the rain isn't choosing those memories, but life already did. And maybe that's true of nearly everything. The smell of fresh bread, a familiar song we haven't heard for years, the whistle of a train, a baseball glove, an old photograph tucked into a drawer. Now, none of those things tell us what to feel. They simply knock on the door, and our memories answer. And I think that's one of the most fascinating aspects of life. We all walk through this same general world, but none of us walks through the same life. And that thought has changed me, or well, at least I'm trying to let it change me. It's easy to assume we understand someone. We imagine that we know why they smile, or maybe why they don't, or why they seem guarded, or joyful, or unusually quiet. But perhaps we're hearing only the rain, while they're hearing a lifetime. And I believe that's why kindness matters so much. Not because everyone agrees, and not because everyone sees the world the same way, but because every person's story is uniquely their own. Stories we know nothing about, and stories that shaped the way they hear ordinary things. I wonder what would happen if we remembered that more often. What if every hurried conversation began with one quiet assumption? This person has lived a life I cannot see. I think we'd interrupt less. I think we'd listen more. I think we'd judge more slowly and forgive more quickly. Perhaps compassion doesn't begin with answers. Perhaps compassion begins with curiosity, with quietly wondering, I wonder what this sounds like to them. And there's something hopeful about that, because it reminds us that every day we live, we continue to collect new memories. A simple conversation today may become, a cherished memory years from now. The rain falling outside today may someday remind us of this season of our life, this friendship, this morning, this very moment. Every day we are writing tomorrow's memories, and we may not even know it. So the next time rain begins to fall, pause for a moment, not simply to hear it, but to think of the memories it brings back to you, and to consider that the person standing beside you may be hearing and remembering something entirely different. Maybe that's worth remembering. The next person you meet is carrying memories you may never know, just as you're carrying memories they may never know. And I think life gets a little kinder when we remember that. Thank you for spending these few minutes with me. This is The Quiet Between, and I'm Mark Ammons. Until next time, may we listen with gentleness. May we wonder with curiosity. And may we remember that every person we meet has a story that we may never fully know. And perhaps that's why kindness is always a good place to begin.